small groups of young people began showing up at the beach. By the way, a flyer was posted on social media soliciting young people to come up and show up at the beach. People at the beach, including the young people, were having a good time. It was very peaceful initially at 4 p.m. There were also families at the beach, and the volleyball court was full. At 5:07 p.m., because officers were doing bag checks at the entrance of North Avenue Beach, we had our first gun arrest at the checkpoint for bag checks. We recovered a 9mm handgun and a fanny pack during that bag check. 20-year-old Brian Wade was charged with one felony count of aggravated unlawful use of a weapon. At 5:38, a second gun arrest at the beach at the checkpoint was made, recovered by an officer, again in a bag. 21-year-old Alexander Alcantara, that's Alcantra, was charged with misdemeanor unlawful use of a weapon on a public street alley. And then at 9:47, the beach continued to be peaceful. About 100 individuals were dancing, wading in the water, having fun. And then at 9:47, officers in the area heard screaming due to two women fighting. Moments later, after officers heard that the screams and the fight and saw the fight between two women, officers see a muzzle flash from nearby, hear shots being fired, and a 19-year-old male sustained multiple gunshot wounds from that shooting. He was taken to Illinois Masonic in critical condition. Officers immediately began pursuing two men who began running from that scene. One of the individuals who was running from that scene, one of the two, tossed a fanny pack, which was recovered, and a Glock handgun with an extended magazine was recovered from that bag. That particular individual that threw the bag with the gun in it made his escape. The second offender who fled was apprehended by officers. Charges are pending with this second offender, so he's still in custody at Area 3 detectives investigating the shooting. At 9:50, so just soon after these two individuals were chased from the beach, with one being apprehended, officers began clearing the beach. So began closing and clearing the beach. The crowd from the beach spilled over into the neighborhood there. Chicago police officers in the neighborhood began spilling out into the neighborhood from the beach as we were pushing people out of the beach. At North and Wells, in the neighborhood near North Avenue Beach, another fight breaks out in the crowd involving individuals who were initially in the beach but were pushed out. Multiple officers trying to control that crowd and intervene and stop the fighting sustained non-life-threatening injuries while dispersing the crowd. 3 arrests were made: a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old female, and another 16-year-old male. So a 15-year-old male, a 16-year-old female, and another 15-year-old male was arrested and charged. The crowd was dispersed. It's about 11:30 p.m. at this point, and the neighborhood was cleared. The second incident I want to highlight, to mention, is CTA incident that occurred approximately 7:51 p.m. In the 200 block of West 47th Street on the Red Line. Two individuals on the train got into some type of altercation. You see this on video. The offender shoots at the victim, and then the offender flees, making good his escape from the platform. The victim sustained multiple gunshot wounds and was taken to University of Chicago Medical Center in critical but stable condition. I'll have Kevin Ryan come up with the CTA, and then I'll come back for questions. Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Ryan. I'm Vice President of Security for the CTA. Both President Carter and I are committed to addressing the current concerns of CTA riders and want to assure you that we're doing everything possible to stem these acts of violence that are occurring on and near CTA properties. Many of these incidents are targeted incidents where the individuals are going after each other. Very few seem to be random acts of violence in the system. The CTA and the CPD have a decades-long partnership. Each day I work in close collaboration with the Chicago Police Department, especially Commander Byrd from the Public Transportation Section. We talk on a daily basis, sometimes an hourly basis. The CTA continues to leverage its comprehensive network of over 33,000 cameras to aid police in investigation of crimes committed on or near CTA properties. These cameras serve as a silent witness and have been vital asset in helping police identify and arrest suspects. In fact, we have already provided video to CPD to assist in this investigation. I believe they had video within an hour and a half. Both the CPD and CTA have added resources to address crime and will remain focused on keeping the system safe and seeking ways to make it even safer. Thank you.
Take a few questions.
This might actually be for Kevin Ryan from
Okay.
CTA, but possibly for you. I'm Liz Nagy with ABC7. Just want to clarify on the CTA shooting. We spoke with a witness last night who said two gentlemen got into an altercation on the train. One of them was beating the other one up, and it appeared to him as though the one who was being beaten up was the one who pulled out a gun and did the shooting. So the offender you're referring to is the gunman, but was initially perhaps a victim? How can we prevent people from getting on CTA with guns? I mean, they said the train car was full of people heading home from work.
That's $1 million question. If you could prevent people from getting on the CTA with guns, we could do it, you know, like airports do it, but nobody would ever get on a train. There would be huge, long lines. This is a challenge faced by agencies all over the world, to be quite frank. So just, it's aggressive enforcement and aggressive prosecution once somebody is caught. And there are enhanced penalties for carrying weapons on public transportation.
And we're still looking for the offender, right?
We are.
In that
He made
situation.
good his escape. And can I just piggyback on that question regarding how do we prevent people from bringing guns onto the CTA train? I would add, and onto beaches, onto parks, at events, in neighborhoods, in cars, leading to road rage. I mean, just the question is quite appropriate. Consequences for having a gun when you're arrested will deter. Real consequences for having a gun will deter people from having guns in these circumstances that lead to violence.
And Superintendent, we're heading into another holiday weekend. We had one of these large fights on North Avenue Beach over Memorial Day weekend. There was one in Millennium Park. This seems to be Chicago and State earlier this summer. This seems to be a persistent problem. What can people expect this weekend on the beach?
Brave and courageous, dedicated police officers from the Chicago Police Department doing everything they can to keep the people of Chicago safe is what you will expect. Again, you know, personal conflicts being resolved with gunplay, I think is the best characterization of what's been happening in these circumstances. And the consequences when we make arrests to those offenders in our courts by our judges, the officers are doing their job. More guns these last 2.5 years recovered than ever in the history of Chicago Police Department. 24,000 guns recovered these last 2.5 years, more than ever. The consequences hadn't caught up with the work that Chicago police officers are doing in holding these people accountable for their behavior. So strict consequences for violent offenders is always going to deter violent offenders from continuing to do what they've done. Yes, ma'am.
This is Sade Gray with CBS. You mentioned that officers are doing what they're supposed to do, but will there be an increase in security, more officers on North Avenue Beach, or
Yes.
more so even in Old Town into the neighborhoods?
Yes, there was significant police presence on North Avenue Beach, and there will continue to be significant police presence, not only on the beach, but into the neighborhoods, as well as enhanced security measures like lighting and other things that we can do to capture offenders. And then this message, don't bring guns to the beach. It's just not something that's going to make us safe, regardless of the reasons that you think is the reason why you're doing it. It's just not appropriate to bring a gun to the beach, to a park, to a special event, to a concert. We are going to hold you accountable. We're going to make the arrest. We're going to charge you, and we're going to encourage the courts to hold you accountable to the fullest extent of the law.
Hello, V1 with NBC5. So regarding the situation and the problems at North Avenue Beach and even 31st Street Beach, you say, you guys are more police presence, more security checks. Aside from that, is the department doing anything differently to address the problem? Because we're seeing it like night after night.
So the bag checks are different. The increased presence is different. I think I'm going to stick with the point being made with the question of how do you keep people from bringing a gun to the beach. Consequences. We just can't skip the importance of holding people accountable, that officers risk their life. I mean, these officers risk their life to, run toward danger. Like, think about shots are fired on the beach, and officers run toward shots being fired. They're not bulletproof. Officers have families and lives they want to live, but they risk those. They risk their lives to hold people accountable. The least the courts can do, the judges can do, is hold people accountable that are in custody to the fullest extent of the law. That's what needs to be different. The effort for Chicago police officers is extraordinary. Their efforts are extraordinary. I mean, it's no small thing in these last 2.5 years to take 24,000 guns off the streets of Chicago. That's a record. That's more than that LAPD and NYPD have taken off the street. Combined. Yeah.
Sorry, my second question is with the Pride Parade being this weekend. What is your response to Alderman Tunney's letter to you, just concerning about his concerns about staffing and just security?
We've added more staffing to this year's Pride than we've had in the past. We've had more coordination with businesses and other stakeholders in the planning process for Pride Parade than we have in the past. We're going to have a tabletop exercise around the Pride Parade, given the incidents across the country regarding Pride, the threats that's been made at other places. We have no threats to Chicago's Pride Parade, but we are, obviously planning for the worst, hoping for the best, but we have extraordinary dedicated resources to this year's Pride, more than has ever been committed. So that's my response to his letter. I actually will formally write that, but that's the response to the letter. With more resources, more intelligence coordination, more coordination with both businesses and other stakeholders in the community and the neighborhoods this year than we ever have. Hundreds. So we have several ways that we add resources. One is called a tiered deployment, where the non-patrol bureaus of our department commit time into some of these events in areas that have challenges to create more visibility, more engagement, and more collaboration. And then also we obviously, as a last resort, cancel days off. So now we got back to, you're not waiting for the mic, you're just going to keep asking questions. So we're going to do the mic, and then we're going to wrap it up. Let's get the mic, please. Yeah, please. We don't mind, but just want to try to do it in a.
Yeah, no, definitely understand. Sorry about that. Starting with CBS. So
Yep.
going back to the kids at Avenue Beach, you said that you were aware that that they put something on social media. So how do you differentiate wanting kids to go out and have a good time, but making sure that it doesn't get out of hand? And is there a way to prevent that from happening again in the future?
That is the difficulty here is it's not illegal to come to the beach if you're a young person. It's not. It's never going to be. But at the same time, we're going to hold you accountable when you break the law, regardless of your age. So what we've done is obviously added several layers of security measures that include the bag checks, officer presence, very aggressive patrols, very proactive policing in and around the beaches. But you all know how porous the beaches are. You don't necessarily have to come through the checkpoint. You can walk across beaches and be on North Avenue beaches. There's no way to really cut off access to the beach across beaches. So that is the challenge for law enforcement. But those are things that we are discussing to add even more security measures that we'll discuss later on. Thank you all so very much. I really appreciate it.